Alright, at first glance it might not look like I grabbed a lot at this month's Southern New Hampshire Hot Wheels Club meeting over at the American Legion in Salem, New Hampshire. But quality over quantity. Got my hands on one of the yellow Chargers. I'm insanely excited about that. The Lancer Evo is awesome as well. It's the Evo 4, which is one of the better looking ones. I have a hard time turning down these castings whenever I see them, and they were dirt cheap. This Skyline's pretty awesome from a company I've never even heard of. I'm going to crack that open in a minute and show you a close-up view of it. And the rest of this stuff is, well, we got some exclusive things here. This is a Best Buy exclusive white McLaren F1. Older Target Red Edition Dodge Power Wagon. We got the Lincoln, also Red Edition. Pretty cool. I think this is from like 2015. Holy cow. That was 2020. This thing is awesome. With the pinstriping, taillight details. I'm not even a Ford guy, but I have a hard time. These 1940 Ford coupes are really cool. That it's basically a 6-window coupe with a split window on the back there. And then we've got the Beast, but a white version. So I don't know, kind of weird, but also kind of cool. Alright, what else do we got? So the Charger and the Lancer, those are going to open up later on. I'm going to do a video of a bunch of these moving parts vehicles, so look for that soon. But what I will do right now is open up this Skyline, and then last but not least, I'm going to show you guys that Lamborghini Miura, which is amazing. Alright, you need to see the detail with this Skyline. This is what I'm talking about when I say, you know, a lot of people spend insane amounts of money on super treasure hunts. And as cool as they are, I mean, look at this thing. Look at the quality and the detail on this. Look at those tiny little Nissan Skyline emblems. Perfectly executed, even though they're microscopic practically. Look at that. You can read it perfectly. You can read Skyline on there. Obviously the GTR, that logo's bigger. I mean, look at this thing. Look at the details, top to bottom. The rear view mirrors, well, the side view mirrors, right? But the Japanese style side view mirrors. I mean, honestly, would you just look at it? Alright, all joking aside, this thing is really cool. So there you go. And I'm a sucker for these guys. I really love them. Ross and Jeff and I were talking yesterday about how ridiculous it is that, you know, they're like nail polish shades. But I just love these. I suppose also because nail polish like this is something my cousins had when I was a kid. And it was kind of one of those cool girly things, but also it's something that it's very indicative of the West and would have been from, you know, from Germany or France or America. Not, obviously, no communist country would have something that ridiculous and glittery. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to this Miura. I've been eyeballing this thing for a while. The gentleman who I got this off of, he's a very nice guy, always has great deals. And he's had this thing kicking around for a while. And, you know, he pointed it out to me recently, and I just couldn't I couldn't make an argument for... yeah, I mean, it's just such a cool car. It's hard to argue with them about, you know, this being a very cool piece. So the back is a little bit derpy. It's not executed perfectly, really. The taillights and whatnot. But overall, the proportions and the lines are beautifully executed. And the doors open, which is nice. The engine bay is perfectly executed. But then check this out. This is some next level stuff. Full adjustable steering. I mean, that's not something that obviously doesn't steer super realistic, right? The whole axle wouldn't move. I mean, I get all that. I understand that it's kind of a silly compromise to do it that way. But the fact that they had that on a toy in the late 60s for a Matchbox Lesney car, I mean, look at this thing. You know, I will admit, I used to be a bit of a snob when it came to Lamborghinis, and I didn't really like much of anything before the Countach. I was aware of the Spada and the Miura and a lot of the wacky stuff, the 400 and whatnot. I just wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't something I get super excited over. I always loved the Lancia and Strato, excuse me, which is that same era and same, you know, that's Gandini as well. But so I don't know. It's really grown on me over the years. I used to work for a guy named Piero. He's very, very, very Italian. And his father was a character, and he would hang out in the shop, and we'd drink coffee all day, constantly trying to bait me into take little breaks. I get paid more by the job than by the hour. So anyway, we would hang out in the office, and they were great people. Piero and his father Paul were they were both entertaining and funny people, but also great guys. I liked working for them. And one day I asked Paul, he had pictures of a Testarossa and Countach and a bunch of stuff all over the walls. Some Ferraris, he had some diecast stuff. Of course, you know, he's an automotive enthusiast, both of them were. And he had worked on some of those Italian cars back in the day, even though it's just a little place called Drake at Foreign Auto, you know, small town in Massachusetts. But the thing is, I asked him one time, I said, Paul, you know, he'd been around, he was old enough to, he was a kid during World War II. He had a lot of stories. Anyway, I asked him what his favorite car of all time was, and he just lit up talking about the Miura and how, you know, it was one of the most beautiful cars ever made, and it had eyelashes. No other cars ever had eyelashes, and of course this is the exact same time as all those people were putting the eyelashes on their cars, you know, like 10 years ago, back in 2012, 13, 14, 15. So I didn't want to argue with him, but I wanted to almost say, well, every knucklehead with a PT Cruiser or a Bug these days has eyelashes on their car, but, you know, I get what he was saying. It was integrated into the design. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I kind of thought about Paul when I picked this up last night, and I hope he's well, and I hope he's still around. He would be up there. He would be definitely mid-90s, I want to say at this point, or at least 90. But anyway, there you go. Was it Fortress Casino or Mount Casino or whatever it was in World War II? He had some cool stories about the Germans versus the Americans during the Second World War. It was always interesting listening to him talk about that time period, of course. But there you go. There's a cool little Miura. That's a neat little piece. And I don't know if anybody on YouTube has I'm sure that there's a different color variation of this, I would imagine. I don't know if anybody's pointed this out. These cool Matchbox with the turning wheels. What a neat piece. I love it. I'm very glad I picked it up.